All right, welcome everybody to Draw Your Valentine with Kate Zambrano. Thanks for joining us. Whether you're tuning in live or watching the recording, we have an awesome session ahead. I'm your host and moderator, Courtney of Trikel Art Supplies. For those who don't know, Kate is an insanely talented artist known for her expressive charcoal portraits, and today she's going to walk us through her process, sharing tips, techniques, and insights along the way. This is a super relaxed session, so if you guys have any questions, just drop it into the chat. Before we dive into the Dimbo, we're going to chat for a little bit. So, Kate, we've been lucky enough to have you on the Trikel Pro team for about 8 years now. For those who might not be familiar, can you share a little bit about what that means and how you first got involved with Trikel?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been 8 years. But I first heard about Trikel from a friend and I bought some brushes, just gonna test them out, and I instantly fell in love. They were really reasonably priced and really super well made, whereas like other brands, they kind of fall apart after a few uses. I feel like Trikel's brushes really held together and put up with the abuse that I put them through. And then I met Courtney in person during my very first workshop I ever did in San Diego. And of course, I just fell in love with her too. And from there, we worked together on various things. I was still getting brushes and then progressed our friendship into the pro team. And
Yes.
it means that I get to love Trikel and scream it from the rooftops.
We love having you. It's been so much fun. I mean, 8 years went by really, really fast.
It's
And
crazy.
yeah, I know that you've seen the progression of the company. And then, we've also got to see you, progress as an artist and grow and teach all these awesome workshops. So thanks so much again for doing this with us.
Of course.
We got a few questions before we get started. So for those who might be new to your work, can you tell us a little bit more about how you got started in portrait art?
I got started in portrait art sort of accidentally. I was modeling before I got into art, and so I just didn't want to do modeling anymore. Like, you can't really do, it's not a sustainable career choice. So I wanted to create something. And when I first was starting out, I really wanted to create monsters and scary, creepy things, but I didn't have any foundation and realism. So it was very difficult for me to just make something up like that. So because I had modeled before, I was really attracted to certain things in photography, and that kind of translated into me just doing portraits because I was practicing by using reference that I would find online or whatever, just trying to make a person look like a person. And that just kept going and going. And then I just fell in love with doing portraits themselves instead of like just the creepy things. And that's how it ended up here. My dogs are opening the blinds.
They want to see what's going on out there.
Yeah. Hey guys.
And then what drew you to charcoal as a medium?
Um, I I don't remember the first time I ever really used charcoal. I do remember just kind of drawing every now and then and, like scribbling around. And then perhaps charcoals were just lying around somewhere and I picked them up and I just instantly loved it. So whenever I was still teaching myself how to draw at the beginning, I was experimenting with different watercolors and different things like that. And I would tone the background of like a one of those Canson boards, like the white one. So I would tone it with watercolor and then I would put charcoal or pastel over the top of it. And I just love how charcoal can be manipulated in so many different ways. And as much as I love oil painting and sculpting, like I can always default back to charcoal as my first true love.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So since today's theme is Valentine's Day, do you have a favorite piece you've created that was inspired by love or connection?
Um, I mean, obviously, the pieces that I do with my partner Sean are inspired by love and connection. So I feel that I really put, I don't want to say more into it, but it's just a different sort of thing. Like the way I see him is that's what I'm channeling. I'm just kind of like pouring it all into that piece. And
Definitely.
all the pet portraits.
Yes, yes, yes. What do you think makes a portrait feel personal and emotional?
I think that if your heart is in it, then it will translate that way. If you don't have a connection to your piece, like you're not, it's going to be a little more flat. I think that a lot of pieces can imply emotion and connectivity by, the eyes facing the viewer. that's an instant connection. So if ever in doubt, make the subject's eyes look at you.
Nice. I like that. Why don't you go ahead and start setting up your camera to
Sure.
get ready for the drawing, and we'll kind of continue the conversation as you're doing that.
Great.
When you start a new portrait, what's the first thing you focus on?
I typically go, I mean, this might sound a little generic, but I usually start in the eyes first. And I usually start in the like the bridge of the nose to tether myself. So once I can accurately place the eyes and make those look really realistic, I think that that's kind of the start of it. How is that? Is that okay? I'll zoom in a little bit.
The camera, you got to do it in the other mode because it's sideways right now.
Oh,
There we go.
did it work?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that looks good.
Okay, not gonna touch it.
Okay, perfect. Do
Right.
you have any rituals or habits that help you get into the creative flow?
Um, that's tricky because sometimes, you know, you fall out of the creative flow and you're just like, oh, I'm not really inspired right now or whatever. But I do, I do really draw a lot of inspiration from my friends who are creating, and just going and seeing what they're up to does motivate me to continue on and push myself. Or I'll watch a lot of YouTube videos of people creating, especially like um, I really love dioramas. And so I
Mhm.
watch a lot of diorama stuff, and it just inspires me to go and make things. I'm just gonna
Okay,
I'm going to
nice.
go ahead and start. I usually, so since we only have a limited time, I have done
Yes.
rough outline just in some mechanical pencil graphite. And what I like to do is soften all the edges so that whenever I layer, you don't see the lines underneath it. So I just blend it out with my finger. I'm sure it's really light right now, but we'll darken it up soon. And
Okay,
I
perfect. Who are you drawing today?
Well, funny you should ask. I am drawing my kitten Richie. He is the light of my life and he's everything to me. And I'm thoroughly obsessed with him and he can do no wrong.
Awesome.
So I usually like to start in the lights after I have made this rough outline and softened everything. I'm working on toned paper, so it's really nice to be able to push back and forth between the lights and the darks. And it's kind of like a hat because it's your mid-tone.
Okay. And if
So
you guys have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat and I will ask Kate.
since I'm working in a smaller space, I usually like to go ahead and start with the brushes. If I was doing like a human portrait, I would start in the eye, bridge nose area with brushes and powdered pastel. But since it's a cat and it's kind of like a tighter space, I'm going to go ahead and go in with this white charcoal pencil just to make sure that I have the placement where I need it before I start adding the dark values. Because dark values to me are quite intimidating. So that's why I like to go for the lights first.
And then what brand of charcoal pencil are you using?
I am using pretty much exclusively General Pencil, and they make a set with 3 different dark charcoal pencils and 1 white charcoal pencil. And then it also comes with a kneaded eraser. And that's all you need. Like that, I've been using that pack of charcoal pencils. I can't even explain how long I've been using them. They're incredible. Okay. Now I'm going to go in. This is a bristle brush, a Trekell bristle brush. It's a size number 4 and it's a bit smaller. I go between the number 6 and the number 4. This one would just be for larger areas. So whenever I start to work on his body, I'll use this one. But just since this is in the face, I'm going to go ahead and use this smaller one. And the great thing about using brushes for charcoal and pastel is you don't really have to clean your brushes unless you're going to be switching values. So I like to do this to soften the marks that I've just made. Oh my goodness, it's Richard. I've never drawn Richard before and I'm so excited.
It's gonna be awesome. He's so cute.
He's
Great
sleeping in
subject.
he's sleeping in the chair over here. Whenever he wakes up, I'll grab him and show him off. So I'm just finding the brightest brights and I am putting marks in that direction. And then I'll soften as well. I might also maybe flip this upside down just to check that I have everything in the correct place as well. But we'll wait for a minute. My ring is tinkling as I'm working.
So I know charcoal can feel pretty intimidating for beginners. What's your advice for someone using it for the first time?
If you're using charcoal for the first time or you haven't used it and you're just curious about it, I would say getting yourself a toned paper. This is the, what is it called? Clay tone paper by Fabriano. Strathmore makes a gray tone, Canson makes gray tone. It's really nice because like I was saying earlier, it's like your mid-tones. So whenever I start putting the dark values in, you can see it next to the light values. It really pops. You don't have to feel so intimidated, like just like a black charcoal on a white paper. That's very intimidating. So it's nice to have the toned paper as kind of a buffer between the light and dark, and you don't have to work as hard, I think. And
Yeah.
also, seriously, using brushes for charcoal has changed my life. It really has. Like once
Okay.
once you start layering it, you can also just erase it out. Like whenever you go to find a likeness and say, I'm just going to go in here with this dark charcoal pencil, if I put something in the wrong place, I'm not going to be able to take it up as much as I need to because this is so pigmented. But if we're putting it on with the brushes, you can pretty much erase it down and a lot
Okay.
easier as well.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm working in a larger area here on his chest. I'm probably just going to do to like right here, and then I'll start building more values so that he can kind of come to life. What I like to do is over to the side over here, I'll just move this a little bit. I have this spare bit of paper. This is also one of the tone papers by Fabriano. They have all these, it's not blue tone, like it is a blue tone, but it's called, what is it called?
I know they have sea moss. Yeah.
Yes, sea. And then there's a green one that's called moss, which is gorgeous. And then they also have sand. So this is the sea toned one. And I'm just going to take I use Sennelier pastel, soft pastel, and I'll just put a little pile of that over here. And then what I can do is take my brush. I'm going to take my larger number 6 bristle brush, and I'm just going to load up some pigment on there. Now we'll go back to Richie. And, oh, sorry, it's a little shaky. And then I'll just start laying in some lighter value. But see, minimal effort. Like you don't really have to draw as much as you would think you do with this kind of drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this belly. How can you resist? But something to look out for too is if you put your outline in with graphite, make sure to either soften it as much as possible or to just erase it out, because once you start layering this, you'll be able to see the marks underneath. Okay. Oh my goodness, he's so cute. These are so amazing, these brushes. I'm not just saying that because I have to. I don't have to, but like these brushes have changed my life. You would think that with something so stiff like a bristle, it wouldn't make it so soft and airbrushy. But honestly, the harder you press, the softer and more diffused it becomes. It's so, so, so nice.
That's interesting.
I know, it's so weird. And then like, whenever I'm teaching, there's always people that want to bring their own brushes. So they're like, okay, cool brushes. I'll just bring, like a synthetic or something soft. But the soft brushes do not work well for blending charcoal. Like
Yeah.
it's just like
And
floppy.
you would think that it would.
Yeah, yeah. Like it seems counterintuitive, but it really does make a huge difference. Like the stiffer the brush, the easier it is to blend out.
Yeah. If somebody doesn't have a brush, what would you recommend they use for blending?
Before I was using brushes, I used pretty much exclusively cotton swabs. It's
Oh,
just,
okay.
it takes you a lot longer because you're working in a smaller area, but that works just as well. Well, not just as well, but it does work really well. And for the first, I'd say half of my career as an artist, I was using just cotton swabs or those little, like I'm self-taught, so like I just kind of used stuff that was lying around the house. Like I used those triangular disposable makeup sponges, and
Hmm.
then also those little cotton rounds. Those also work
Oh,
really
yeah,
well.
yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, DIY. So I'm just building up these lighter values so that once I start laying in the darker charcoal, it'll already have some lovely highlights popping out. And it really
It's
does make it to where you don't have to try so hard.
Yeah, it's awesome to see like the little amount that you have done and it's already coming to life.
Yes, like that's the thing is I just want it to be fun. Like I don't want to have a hard time while I'm drawing and painting. Like I
Yeah.
just want to enjoy it. Like it is a really stressful thing to do. Like I don't want to add to it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Someone in my last class, my last workshop said that my classes should be called cheat codes.
I like that. That's
Yeah,
actually good
I was like,
marketing.
wow, that's really clever. Yes, I think I will
Yeah.
start calling it cheat codes. Okay. So I feel pretty okay with this foundation that I've built. Like it's going pretty quickly, but I know that I need to add the dark values to start informing the light values because everything of course is always relative to what it's next to. So it might seem super bright right now, but whenever I start laying in the dark charcoal, it might not. So without further ado, I'm going to take some black pastel and do the same thing that I did before, just a little pile off to the side. Just move my camera slightly and you can see it. Okay, so that's what I do. And then I'm gonna take the smaller number 4 brush because I'm gonna go into like smaller areas. So as you can see, I have not washed my brush. You don't have to because it is dry medium. It's not gonna affect it too much unless you wanna go in and use these for like oil or watercolor or something, then you need to wash them off. But if you're just using them for 2 values, you're safe. And I'm not putting very much pressure on right now. I just am nervous about dark values, so I just want to make sure that the placement is correct as I'm doing this. And I'm pressing into the darkest dark first, and then I'm diffusing out.
So Barbara had a question. I'm sorry, you guys, I'm just seeing these right now. I think you kind of answered this, but
Okay.
what paper do you like?
My favorite paper in the whole world is Fabriano. I'm pretty much only using Fabriano paper. I like this is a pack. This is one of the small packs of the clay toned Fabriano paper. It's like Fabriano. Let me see. I have it right here. I'll just show you. So this is the paper. Oops, sorry about the shaking. This is the paper that I'm using. This is my favorite paper. I go through so many of these. And then for my pieces that I tone my own paper, I'll show you an example of that as well. I use Fabriano hot press watercolor paper, 300-pound hot press watercolor paper. Let me just move the camera a little bit. So this is a white piece of paper that I've toned with watercolor and then put a charcoal drawing over the top of it. And so, yeah, like number 1 Fabriano fangirl over here.
And then Michelle has a pretty similar question, and I think you just answered it. What type of paper works best? Drawing paper, pastel paper, sanded?
Um, I, I mean, I guess it's just like I just like a toned paper. Like I don't, I like a smooth paper. I don't like watercolor paper. The cold press paper is really textured. As long as it's smooth and absorbent, that's really all I care about.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to actually add the details to his eyes so that I can at least make sure that his face is where I want it, and then I'll start working out.
And can you let everybody know how you came to own Richie?
Oh, I would love to tell the story about Richie. So it was the beginning of April, end of May, my dog Riley, who I actually got from Courtney, he just like, we were sitting in bed and he just started growling, looking at the window, which isn't unusual. He's very vocal and he has things to say. But I looked out the window and there was a black kitten sitting on the windowsill outside. And she was pregnant, and I got to see, all stages of that. She had her babies. She would come by for dinner and eat food, and I was trying to take care of her, but also I'm super allergic to cats, so I had to make her stay outside. That's obviously going so well now. But she had her babies, and then lo and behold, just brought her babies to me one day, and I got them all fixed. Everybody got fixed and everyone was adopted out. But Richie, I loved the most. I just thought he was so beautiful. I was obsessed with him from the first second I saw him. And I knew I was going to keep him and Wednesday, his mom. And she's a little black kitty and she's very small because she got pregnant when she was very, very young.
Yeah, well, that I love that story, and thank you so much for taking care of animals that need it.
Yes, of course. And thank you for doing that as well. Whoever doesn't know, Courtney is the biggest advocate for rescuing dogs and specifically senior dogs that, it's just their last chapter. And she is such a hero for letting them have such a wonderful home.
I think they're doing me the favor. I love animals.
It's true. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and go in with some Q-tips. These are precision paper. This says paper sticks, little cotton swabs, but they have a really nice pointy edge. And so I love using these. I just got these on dreaded Amazon for like $6. And yeah, they're really nice to blend. So if you don't have the brushes, no worries, but also, why are you here? And second of all, yeah, you can definitely utilize all of these tools at the same time as well. I like to bounce between them all. I think his chin needs to be a little smaller, more baby-like. There we go. It's very odd to draw. Like I'll do exercises where I flip my canvas or my paper upside down so that I can see it objectively, but not typically for the entire thing. It's so interesting and odd.
What do you think a common mistake is that artists make when drawing portraits, and how can they fix it?
That's a big question. Um, I think that we get tripped up. I mean, I obviously am guilty of any of the mistakes as well. Like, I know that I'm gonna, like, let's pretend Richard is a person. So I'm always gonna struggle with the nose to mouth ratio. Um,
Hmm.
I always know that that's going to be an issue for me, so I try to keep that in mind. I think that if we recognize the things that we struggle with and embrace them instead of like pretending that they don't exist, that's really helpful. And then just, I don't know, it's like our brains are trying to sabotage us at all fronts. Like, oh, it's an eyelash. I know what that looks like. I got it. Or, oh, I can't wait to put the highlights in the eyes. Like, the less details you put, the more realistic it ends up looking, which is a strange thing as well. But
Yeah.
like, it's true. Just a lot of controlled planning is helpful. And just trusting what you're seeing instead of what like your brain thinks it knows. Like,
Hmm.
you have to draw what you're seeing, what you are observing, instead of just like, oh, okay, well, I know what a pupil is. I've got it. And then our brains just sabotage us. So
Yeah.
definitely, like, I don't know. I think it's like a multi-layered question or answer for the question, where it's just like there's a lot of different things where you can see it in other people's work and your own. And I think that you can see it in other people's work because you can see it in your own, where it's like I focus too much on this part instead of trusting that I know what I'm doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not too rambly and it made sense.
I think it made total sense.
Okay. So I'm just like picking up a little bit of pigment and then moving it around. And it's going to be really blurry and ghostly for a little while. And that's exactly the base that I want. And then I can pick out a few highlights, pick out a few details of dark, and then it'll be done. I thought, oh, well, instead of just drawing a cat face, I'll draw the whole body.
And this is your first time drawing, Richie?
First time.
Right.
Last night I was just going through tons of pictures, freaking out on how cute he is.
I'm sure there's going to be plenty more drawings coming of him.
Oh yeah, I'm now a Richard artist. I only draw Richie. If anybody wants me to draw my cat, please, I will. Okay. So I'm going to try to refrain from like putting any hard lines around. I'm going to like try to build that up with atmosphere. Right now, I'm just kind of trying to find the edges of things right now to like lead me around.
And you're going back and forth between the white charcoal and is it a 2B?
Yes, I'm using the 2, only because my 4 was very small.
Okay.
Usually I'll like kind of do everything with the 4. My partner Sean is an artist and he uses exclusively the 2. But he gets some really dark details with the 2s. Just all about the pressure.
For anybody that might be a beginner here, can you explain the difference between the 2, 4, and 6 that comes in the pack?
Sure, I can actually make a little mark to show. Okay, so got the 4, got the 2, and I've got the 6. Okay, so the 4, oh no, the 2, where is it? The 2 is the softest, so it's the lightest. So this is the 2. Next is the 4, bit darker.
Mm-hmm.
And then where's the 6 in here? This is the 6. This is the darkest.
Oh, wow.
So
Perfect.
there's quite a range, but you can also press really hard with the 2 and it's pretty much the same as that. So it's just a preference. Like I know some people who are graphite artists and they don't blend at all. And they just build it with different densities of the lead and the graphite. So
oh, wow.
I know it's amazing, but that's not me. I like to kind of sneak up on a drawing. It's the most non-committal way to draw, I think. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. So what I'm doing while I'm looking at my reference, I'm blurring my eyes and I'm glancing at it. Like I only glance at the reference. I don't study it too hard because then I'll start seeing things that aren't there that are, well, they're there, but it's not important. Like I'll start seeing that there's too many lights in the shadows and then everything will get off and weird. So whenever you're using a reference, try to just glance no longer than 2 seconds, just 2 seconds at the reference. And then the rest of the time trying to fill it in on your paper. Again, another thing that seems counterintuitive, but it does really help. It's not shaking the camera, is it?
No.
Okay, good.
So now that we kind of talked about the difference of the charcoals, how do you decide when to use the hard versus soft charcoal in a portrait?
I'll typically use the hard or the like the soft, I don't know if it's the softest, the darkest, I'll say. I'll use the darkest at the very, very end for just like a few pops of really, really rich, deep values. And I'll do the same for the brights and the highlights. Usually whenever I end a drawing, I'll I'll spray it with fixative, and then I'll take like a paint pen or some acrylic like in a pile, and I'll just pop like 2 or 3 highlights on. So it really has
Okay.
its depth. You know what I might do? This will be a little fun. Okay, I'm going to take a yellow pastel pencil and draw his eyes with yellow and green.
Ooh, I do like that.
I got my little thing of pastel pencils, and I'm just gonna take. What helps with that is if you kind of fill it in with white first. Even it's not going to be that bright, but it will help pop the pastel color out.
We got a question from Barbara and Michelle. Same
Okay.
question from both of them. What do you use to sharpen charcoal pencils, and what is the best way to sharpen charcoal pencils?
So I'm using, there are like, where did it go? These are fine, like these little manual sharpeners. I use these all the time. These are great. But I really love this one. It's an AFMAT pencil sharpener, and it's got the option for like really, really long point or just like a semi long point. I sharpened this one before we got going, and this was with the short point.
Oh, nice.
It's really the greatest. Not sponsored. It's just a really, really great, awesome sharpener, and I will take this to the grave.
Where can they get that at?
I got that on Amazon,
Okay.
and it's the AFMAT. I think it's called like something point or something like that. I think it's like about $40, and that's my second one because I lost the other one.
I'll see
And
if I can find it and I'll put it in the chat.
oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Is it electric?
It's electric, yeah, and it's
Okay.
rechargeable, so like you don't have to have it plugged in.
Okay.
Okay. Richie, I'm drawing you. Okay, that's nice. I like how that feels. So I really just want to make sure that the inside of his face is done enough to inform the rest of his body, because I feel like as long as I can get the face of whatever I'm drawing to look pretty accurate, then I can spend time having fun in a more abstract way on everything else. I'm going to give him a pink nose too.
Oh, I love this. I love the colors that you're adding in.
Thanks. It's like a really nice thing to do to add a little bit of colored pastel into a charcoal work. Just like it's such a nice balance of like just the drawing and then a little bit of fun of like life in there.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to switch this upside down because I'm having a little bit of a hard time tethering myself to what I need to concentrate on. So I'll flip this and then I'll get everything set. I'll flip this too. This is I just have a link to, if you don't know, I have my Instagram on here and then I have my Patreon on here too. So
I will also link that for everybody.
oh, thank you so much. Is this okay? The framing, it's okay?
Yes.
Okay. Oh my goodness, how silly.
He's so cute.
Ah, I'm so obsessed. I haven't had a cat in so long because I'm really allergic, but these cats go right into my face. I'm just sniffing them all the time. Just can't even be stopped.
Have the
other three,
allergies gotten better?
they actually have. I mean, I'm allergic to just being alive, so it's less with the cats now. I really have just been shoving them in my face a lot because I can't stop it. They're so cute. But the other three were adopted out. One of our good friends got one of the little girls, and then the two tabbies were adopted by the same family in San Francisco.
That's so awesome.
Ugh, it's just, I was so nervous. Like, I can't keep 5 cats, but I don't like trust people. So I didn't want to like
Yeah.
just advertise it. So I feel so happy that they went everybody is in a great home now.
Yes. And then you also get attached to them, so it's hard to let them
Ugh,
go.
exactly. I had a hard time with that because I was just like,
Yeah.
I know that I can't feasibly keep them, but maybe. So I'm just taking the residual of whatever I had blended with this cotton swab. I do the same thing with the brushes. I just take the residual sometimes and push it around so that I don't have to like make a mark or dip back into anything. Now I'm gonna just put a little bit more. I just went to like the side of the pile because I don't need it to be like super, super dark. I'm just lightly pressing now and then blending out. And it's just one of those things that once you practice it, you'll understand what I mean about the different pressures and all of that, and like the residual pigment. Like it it might not make sense until you actively are doing it, but once you do it, you'll totally understand, like, oh, you just press harder. Oh, okay. It's really like one of the easier ways of drawing, I feel. Because like I'm self-taught, so like I didn't have anybody around that could show me what tools to use or how to do stuff. Like I was just kind of on my own figuring stuff out and just using what I had and all of that kind of thing. And so I understand what it feels like to just put so much pressure on yourself and not understand the tools, not know what to use, not know how to start. And so all of this stuff is just like little tips and tricks that I've come up with along the way. Sean said once that cats are just triangles and fluff, and that's what I'm trying to channel right now.
I definitely can see that.
Yeah, it's true. Look at how many triangles. The little mouth just kills me.
Uh, so adorable.
He's so cute.
What's the best way to fix mistakes when working with charcoal?
Um, So there are a few things. It just depends on what you don't like about it, what you want to fix. So a lot of times, like I said, I'll struggle with the placement between the end of a person's nose and the top of like the cupid's bow area on the lip. And what you can do with charcoal, if you're working on a toned paper with some light pencil, you can draw into the mistake and erase it out. Like if you've tried to erase it so much that it's not coming up anymore, you can take your white pencil and start drawing into where you've made the mistake. I'll say mistake, quote unquote, and you can move it from there. Also, like I said, like using the brushes really does help keep it very soft. So for example, like say I don't like this, I'll show you. I can pretty much erase that all the way out because I've used the brush. It's very, very soft. But if I were to like mark it like this, these aren't going anywhere. Like that's gonna stay there. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Sometimes I ramble and I'm like, whoa, I think I lost everyone.
Well, it's hard too because it's a webinar, so we can't get any feedback from anyone that's listening.
Yeah, that's true. So if that didn't make sense, let me know to anyone listening. Just got to put some beans and some eyes. And I feel like that's going to read as cat. Fur is really forgiving too. Like especially with these stripes, like I'm just doing the same thing that I was in parts of the face, just dipping into the powdered pastel a little bit and then drawing out these stripy areas. And then what I'll do is I will take my eraser and you can just pop out some fur. It's a lot less inundating than it might seem, especially with the brushes. It keeps it really nice and soft. And I'm not just talking about the brushes so much because I'm doing a Trykel webinar. Like I really do talk about the brushes a lot on my own as well.
No, you definitely, I mean, we didn't even know about this technique until you became an artist on the pro team, and then you were the one that let us know that this is possible to use.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
See, I really do believe in
yeah,
it. Like
yes, yes.
I'm not just what is it? Is it the Rogaine guy that's like, I'm not just the president. I'm also a member.
Yes, exactly. You kind of already did this in this drawing, but what other types of dry media, or not even dry, like media, do you mix in with your charcoal portraits sometimes?
Ooh, you can really mix everything. So a typical like the piece I just brought up here, like the Marie Antoinette hair, I used watercolor, charcoal, pastel, colored pastel, and acrylic. It's like you can really mix a lot of stuff if you layer it in the correct way. Like I'm not going to throw watercolor over the dry media unless I'm trying to go for something abstract and crazy. But like if you layer it in the right way and you have, like a plan going in and make sure to spray it after before you throw acrylic on or whatever. But if you layer it in such a way, you can put a lot of different medium into a dry media piece. So see what I mean? Like you can really erase out a lot of the pigment. And I love using these mechanical erasers because they're just really, really precise. Okay, just measuring.
So somebody just let me know that the chat was disabled. So I believe that I fixed it. So you guys should be able to comment in the chat if you have any questions as well.
So I'm pressing a little bit harder now with the pencil to get to that next deepest value because I feel pretty okay with the placement of everything. This is one of those aforementioned mistakes that we were talking about. So what I'm going to do is actually draw into it with the white pencil to erase it out. Very subtle. I'm not sure if that even like kind of like came up on the camera, but I'll do it over here too for the side of the nose. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Eventually, I just end up like holding everything in my hands like a lunatic, but whatever.
Hey, if it works.
Plus, it looks so cool.
How do you know when you or because I'm assuming you take a million photos of your pets.
Oh, yeah.
How do you know when you take a photo that is reference worthy?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I don't know if I even know how to answer it. That is a really good question. It's like just like if the lighting's like I know what I like in like photographs for lighting and I love a dramatic lighting. I liked this picture because like I knew that we were going to do this webinar so I took Richie outside to go take some pictures and he's being such a ham rolling around, but I knew that outside would give me some really good lights and shadows. So I guess like if the piece or if the photo has really nice lighting, like what I'm attracted to in a piece, and just something that isn't too like blown out or too shadowy, it's kind of that nice mix in between. I didn't know when I was taking these pictures that they would be good reference, but I do know whenever I take a picture and I'm like, oh, that would be good reference. And I know that it has to do with the lighting. I do want some nice like juiciness in the eye. I love this little highlight on the nose. There's just certain things whenever you are doing this like a lot and then you realize like, "Oh, that's the theme. Like that's what I like." And it just kind of comes from like you doing it so much. So I might not necessarily know right off the bat like, "Oh, this is going to be a great reference to make a portrait from," but upon looking back at things I realized like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the thing that I like.
And
So
then Barbara has a question.
okay,
Which fixation do you use and does it really hold?
I really really like Lasco. It's a French fixative. It's a bit on the pricey side, but it really works. The nozzle, like just the sprayer, has a beautiful mist. It's very even. I've never had any discoloration or anything from it. But if that's too pricey, Winsor Newton makes a very nice fixative too that I will easily substitute out, like in a pinch. And I go
Okay.
between both of those. Those are both really nice options, and it does definitely work.
Okay. I will also put those in the chat.
So I'm gonna make the stripes by drawing the highlights because I've put a few little marks of the dark, but I'm gonna do it now with the highlight or the white pencil. I watched a cat documentary and they were saying, cats have been worshipped for a long time, blah blah blah. But I had never known that. So there's like the Prophet Muhammad was supposedly like really into cats, and he marked them all, and that's why they all have an M on their heads.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was so cute. So I'm gonna make his little M right now. I thought about just switching it up and drawing Wednesday and just making it a whole black piece of paper with two little eyeballs.
That actually would be interesting to watch too.
That'd be so funny. I'm all like, all right, thanks so much for coming to the webinar. Okay, I feel okay about the face. So I'm gonna just start going in around his body, and especially like right in here. I need to concentrate on like what I want to bring out, what I want to diffuse, because I do want to make this as quick as possible so you can see how um, accessible this technique can be. Like I haven't really been working that hard for that long on it, and he's already in it.
As someone who's not an artist, I do love watching like artists work like this because it is
Mm-hmm.
amazing to just see something like this come to life so quickly.
Oh my gosh, I love watching people make stuff. Like it is my
Yes,
favorite thing to do is just watch people make things. It's like freaking magic. Like I don't feel like that about my own work because it's mine. I'm just like whatever. But watching other people like just, like anybody making stuff, oh, it's really like a magic trick.
it
Incredible.
is.
Okay, so another tool you can use is just like a little bit of paper towel. And so I like to do this for like really big areas and just to lay down a lot of pigment really quickly. So I'll take some of I'm actually going to put a little bit more powdered pastel. I used to powder it with like a bit of sandpaper, but it's really unnecessary and it can damage your brushes. So now I'm just using a spare bit of paper, which works the exact same way. So I'll take a little bit of paper towel. I'll actually diffuse it off on my hand. But it just covers a lot of ground really quickly. Not really sure what the lighting is going on his legs. Oh, that's all bright. So I'm going to erase that. There we go. And now I can take the brush and for some reason, like whenever you use the brushes with the dark pigment, it has a tendency to kind of like coagulate in areas. I don't mind that for this piece because he is furry. So it does lend well to the feeling of fur. But if you're working on like a portrait of a person, you don't necessarily want that. So it is nice to do this with the paper towel first because it's like little ball bearings and you can blend it a lot easier. The white powdered pastel doesn't necessarily have that issue, and I'm not really sure why, but the darker ones do have a tendency to do that. Should probably clean off my hand. It looks gross. Whatever.
How do you keep your drawing from smudging as you work?
Well, I'm flipping it. So knowing that like I'm left-handed and like anything I do over here is going to get smudged, you can either take like well, I have a long-handled brush and you can tether yourself like this and just use it as like a maul stick and steady
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Or just knowing like, all right, I'm heading over into this territory, so I'm gonna brace myself here and work on it. Or flipping your canvas, like rotating things. Um, just being aware is what is the
Yeah.
most helpful. Like I know that I want to work on the left side first, but then the right side, then I have an issue. So knowing that, I'll try to do the right side first.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Which pencil is this? I was like, oh, this is really not marking that hard, but it's the 2. But you can still get it pretty dark, like we established over here. Okay, I'm gonna flip him again. Whoops. I'll flip this again. I mean, at the end of a drawing session, I am pretty charcoaled up. Like, I'll have it on my face. It'll be kind of all over me in some way, shape, or form, but that's okay because I love charcoal, but I do understand that it is a really intimidating medium to use because it's just like it's really just messy if you don't control it well.
But do you think that it's the same for oil painting too? Do you tend to get that everywhere? Or is it worse with drawing with charcoal?
I have a really specific messiness that I get with painting. Like for some reason, like blue will just end up everywhere. Like I don't understand how it happens. Like just a little bit comes off and it's just everywhere. But charcoal is just really messy. Like it's more accidental with oil painting.
Oh, okay.
I might actually like just blend this on the side instead of having a definitive thing and then create some fur. And I love using my hands to blend. I know that some people have been told not to do that. I think that's weird. Like it's our first tool, like it's on our body. We should be able to use it.
Yeah.
Just, make sure that your hands are clean because the oils will impact that. But
Hmm.
I see nothing wrong with using your hands. But I didn't go to art school, so I
Think it's whatever works best for you.
I agree. Because no one's like, I've never like asked to be in a show or anything like that. And they say, oh, well, what did you use to blend? Like, not,
Did you use your hand? You're not invited to the show
yeah,
anymore.
you need to sit at the kids' table. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eraser because I've just fuzzed all that out. And instead of making a distinct line, I'm going to make some fur.
So instead of adding in white pencil, you were using the eraser to
Yes.
give that effect. And then
Yes.
what is your reasoning for doing that?
I'm just knocking it back to the mid-tone of the paper. I don't necessarily need it to be white, so I'm not adding the
Okay.
charcoal pencil or the white charcoal pencil. I'm just
Yeah.
going to take it down with my mechanical eraser.
Nice.
It just started raining here, so I really hope this power doesn't go out. We've been getting so many power outages lately.
Well, yeah, with all the wind, it's been
Yeah.
pretty interesting for California this
Poor
year.
California has
Yeah.
January lasted for like a year for California.
It really did.
How's the weather where you are? Is it rainy?
It's windy right now, but we will be
Oh.
getting the rain tomorrow.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was so windy here yesterday, like unbelievable. It
Yeah, I
gets
feel
really,
like that part of California has been getting it really bad this year. We've actually been kind of lucky.
which is weird because it is so windy out there.
Yeah, it's usually the other way around.
Yes. Okay. So I've sort of implied the shadow that's over here too, but I don't know if we'll have enough time to like actually define out everything. I'm just going to start speeding through this now. And so now that I've made these hairs, I'll go ahead and soften them with the brush. Take this back a little bit. All right, Richard. Let's see. And whenever I'm drawing, I'm just sketching. Like I never really bring my pencil up. I kind of just like make little squiggles all over the place.
I know we're doing a webinar, so that your setup isn't how it normally is, but when you
Mm-hmm.
are creating, are you usually listening to music, podcasts, or just working in silence?
Okay, I cannot work in silence. I would go crazy. But I love a podcast or audiobooks. Like I got the, Audible. I'm usually always listening to something. I don't typically listen to music unless it's like a class, just because I'll get tired of whatever I'm listening to. And I just like I have like musical ADD where like I don't ever finish the song. I'm just like, what's next? So
Oh, okay.
like it's really nice to listen to like a podcast or like something scientific or things that I'm going to learn from or just like a novel on Audible. But I have to listen to something or else I'll just drive myself crazy. It's like it takes out of that part of your brain that's like this is crap. Like if I'm
Yeah,
listening to something, I'm not so mad at myself.
yeah. If you start an audiobook, does it make you want to keep drawing or come back to the drawing the next day because you have something to look forward to?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's such a good question. It does. Like it's like my treat to myself. Like I can only
yeah.
listen to this if I'm making something.
Okay, that's actually good suggestion for people that are looking for a way to stay, inspired and want to keep working.
Yeah, yeah. I seriously do like the treat reward system with myself where I'm like, oh, I really like this book. So I'm only or this podcast or whatever I'm listening to, but I'm only allowed to listen to it when I'm working. Just
What
like
was your, do you have like a one that you're listening to currently or a recent one that you recommend?
um as far as audiobooks, I really got into Andy Weir. He wrote The Martian and
Oh yeah.
he does a lot of like space stuff. So I really got into that. Right now, I'm listening to The Once and Future King because I've never actually read that book before. And so that's really good because I love a magical like fantasy book and that's right up there. And Merlin's in it. So that's cool. I feel like I did too much over here and now I'm trying to balance it out before I do his little feet. Okay.
What do you think that you did too much of?
I'm just like unsure about like this angle and how much shadow because I don't know how much of the shadow I'll be able to actually get in before we end. I guess it's only been a
Oh,
couple.
okay.
So we'll figure it out. It's just those things that like you're building it and you're also trying to plan what you're going to do. So just trying to keep it all organized in my brain.
Okay.
It's just a constant like manipulation of oneself.
Hmm.
Maybe once I put these little ham hocks in, it'll help. So I didn't actually erase enough of this graphite over here, so that's why it started getting a little bit muddy when it mixed together. So I had to erase it all out. Yeah, I'm just going back and forth between each one of the tools, just building them all up in layers. I'll typically get this part of any face and then I'll work in more of an, not, I don't want to say abstract way, but I'm a lot more free and experimental with everything else. Because I do want to remind the viewer that it is a drawing. Like, I'm not trying to make this look like a photo, but I am trying to get
Yeah.
likeness. Like, I want a likeness without it being hyper realistic, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Well, I have another eraser that has a finer point than this, which is really great for these hairs, but I have misplaced it. So I'll get around that by just like constantly moving usually I'm like twisting it so that it doesn't get
Mhm.
dulled out.
And that's also a general pencil eraser.
I think it is. It's called Factus, but I always
Yeah,
get it from General Pencil. So must be
I
their
believe that
company.
is theirs. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love these. These are great. I just like they sent it to me and then I started using it and I was like, how did I ever survive without this? He kind of has like a Cheshire catness around about him.
He definitely does. I can see it with the the stripes.
Yeah, like the gray. I think Cheshire Cat's gray too. He doesn't smile, so
He
that's
doesn't disappear either.
he doesn't disappear and just leave his mouth behind. Oh, actually, he does. He has to like whenever he leaves the room, like we'll just hear like he just has to tell us that he's gonna go to the bathroom. Like he's so weird. I love him. Funny little alien things.
They are interesting animals, that's for sure.
I haven't had a cat in so long that I've just been such a dog person, and now I'm like, do I like cats more?
That it's a hard one.
Yeah.
They each have their own unique qualities about them.
Yep. Yeah, like it's so nice to not be so needed at all times of the day.
Yeah.
Like I have two chihuahuas, and that's just a really needy combination. Okay, let's get these little feet out of the way. So I'm pressing pretty hard now because like we're building the value. So I don't have to be so precious with finding the placement. I feel pretty good. It's just a little kitty foot. It's fine. So I'm pressing as hard as I think I'll get to. Like, I think this is about as hard as I'll press. And something to note is if you are holding a pencil, I'll just use this one because it's longer. If you're holding a pencil right here, you're going to be really close with your body up here to get details. And this is really like the death of your objectivity. So always try to hold your pencil or whatever tool you're using really far away. Like I'm pressing pretty hard and I'm still trying to hold my pencil far away just because it keeps your body away. If you start creeping up on the piece, then you're losing your objective viewing capabilities.
Yeah.
Fur isn't that scary. It's just lots of squiggles. Just a lot. Like if you build it really soft at first and then you just put squiggles on it, it looks real.
Yeah.
Like as long as the values are correct and the placement's right, you can really get away with a lot of texture in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why are cat feet so cute? Oh my goodness.
Everything about them is adorable.
I'm just like losing my mind over here about how cute he is. Like he's not just sitting over here next to me. Richard, come here. So yeah, I'm pressing as hard as I can. I'm backed up as far as I can go on the pencil. So this is like being anchored right here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm able to press pretty hard while still maintaining a safe distance. I'm going to go ahead and throw in some whiskers now. And then I won't have to like do so much shading maybe. Actually, I'll throw in a little bit of a darker value. Since there is a lot of like loose pigment around, I do try to like blow it off every now and then. Okay. There's one that curls up. And less is more with whisker type things. Like
Mm-hmm.
you might see more, but if you put all of them, just like if you're drawing hair, if you're drawing each individual hair, it's really going to lose some life. So
Mm-hmm.
just, everything with discretion. That really is like what realism comes down to, is like making sure that you have a nice foundation and just some really choice areas of darkest darks and lightest lights and details. You need a lot less detail than you probably think.
Yeah. It's like the viewer's eye will fill in all that detail that you don't put in.
Yes, exactly that. Like your eye is going to, like your brain is going to fill it in. Like you
Yep.
trust that your brain is a lot more photographic. That's why like you should look at your reference for just a couple of seconds, not too long, because yes, exactly that. Like the viewer's brain will input that. And that's why like people like Alphonse Mucha and John Singer Sargent, like that's why they're so impactful, because like they really, their values and everything is like incredible use of control. Like they have such specific areas of concentration, and then everything else is very loose. Like if you zoom into a Sargent hand, the hand by itself looks so weird. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
is that? And then you zoom out and you're like, oh my God, it's the greatest hand that's ever been painted.
Yes.
And then Muka's the same, where it's like, that's not the right value. Everything's super flat. Like, how is he doing this? But it's so controlled that it makes complete sense to our brains. All right. I'm actually going to go in with the 2B, because where I see some of these like hairs, I don't want it to be like I don't want to use my 6B pencil. I'm just going to use the lighter one, so I can get away with both the lack of pressure and just the pigment being softer.
Okay. D just a question for the viewers out there about how much time is left, because I want to make sure everybody gets their questions in before we end the demo.
I could probably be done in about 15 to 20.
Okay, I just want to let everybody know, just to make sure you get all your questions answered before we end this. So about 20 more minutes.
Yeah, we can say yeah, anywhere from 15 to 20.
Okay.
All right. Since we have that, I'm going to try to actually erase these. Because I want to put in this cute little shadow. I didn't send over the reference like an idiot. I should have like shared the reference with everyone, but I'll pull it up on my screen and show you really quick. So there's just like a really nice shadow that's going on around him that
Yes,
I do. How cute he is!
he is so
That
cute.
I do really want to work on. So that's what I'm going to work on next, is carving him out. Because right now he's just, a cat floating in space, which is adorable. But I want to put him onto the ground. Richard, can you wake up? Come over here, please.
Is just taking a nap next to you?
Yes. He loves to sit in the computer, like him and Wednesday, they love sitting in the computer chairs. So he's claimed the one next to me. Okay. Shadows are interesting because the closer they are to the subject, the more crispy they're going to be. And usually the more like outward they go, they're more diffused. However, the sun was setting whenever I took this picture. So the shadows are very like long casted. So they're all very crispy. We'll see if we can get away with this. And I'm just going to fill it in like I did with that paper towel earlier. It's like a devil horn right here.
Fitting for him, huh?
Yeah, cats, man. I always get so nervous before like webinars and seminars and classes and stuff, but this is so fun. And it's so weird that other people are here. It just seems like you and I are just chatting.
Yes.
I'm like, hey, what are you doing later? Do you want to watch me draw?
Couldn't think of a better way to spend my day, honestly.
Oh, and next to puppies, of course.
Yes.
I'm going to something you can do with a kneaded eraser that's cool, and you guys probably already know this, but it's kind of like silly putty. If you just make it flat and then just stamp it onto the thing, it'll diffuse it without you having to like actually erase it out. It's very helpful for me. So I feel like the shadow was a little too defined on the outside, and I just need it to be more deeper value on like closer to him. Now all those little hairs just kind of got erased, but that's okay. It's easy to pop those back in. I built up a lot of tension on this side, so maybe I'll add some like pebbles or something on that side. That paper towel is dead. There's no more using that paper towel. All right, now I'm going to use the brush to just diffuse out that hard line that I had made. And a nice thing to do is, like, you can tell how much I've used this brush. It's now got an angle. A nice thing to do is if you're going to use the brush, like either with the dark or light values, start in the brightest brights or the darkest dark. So for example, this is my dark charcoal brush. I'm going to start closer to him and then work out instead of starting over here where it's just like it doesn't need to be that dark right there. It's always a smart idea to start in the darker areas and then work your way out instead of just like in a mid-tone. And I'm just going to use the residual like I was talking about on my brush to make some stripes on his belly. And then I'll take the smaller brush because I'm going to put the shadow on his foot. I've never done a live pet portrait before.
You have it. This is your
Never.
first one.
First one. It's a little bit
Wow.
stressful, but it was very fun.
What is stressing you out about it?
Well, first of all, this angle is so ridiculous. Why did I do this to myself? But secondly, like it's just so different. Like I'm so used to drawing humans that I could, easily get myself out of a bind. But this is
Yeah,
like these are all like triangles and fluff. Like it is so much foreign stuff to be doing live in like a couple hours. But I think it's working out pretty
you're
okay.
doing a great job.
Oh, thank you so much.
You could
But
have fooled all of us. I thought that you've done this multiple times.
yeah, no, I mean, what better subject to use? But it was very nerve-wracking because I'm like, why did I do this? It's always like whenever you're planning stuff, it's always like, oh yeah, that's gonna be great. And then it's like tick tock down to the
Yes.
time, and then you're like, man, I really think I might pass away before this happens. So I do want to get it to a place of completion before we end. So I'm just gonna put in those details. A few more whiskers. And then I'll just add a little bit of, I don't know what I'm gonna add over here actually. I wish like if I had like a little bit of splatter, that would be great, like a little watercolor splatter or something. But no, we don't have that.
For a piece like this, how do you decide on a background, or do you just like try to keep it as minimal as possible?
Um, I definitely picked this because of the shadow. I liked how that looked. Um, but usually in a background, I'll like on that piece I showed you with the girl with the Marie Antoinette hair, with that I like to tone my own paper so that that is the background, like just those crazy abstracty brush marks.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I'm not like a big background person, I guess, but I
Okay.
guess I should be. But I do like it to be just more like weird shapes and kind of abstraction and whatever, just because I am like more of a portrait person.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping it a little like wacky in the background and not, I don't know. It's a complicated question to answer. Okay, I gotta get a move on here. Let's finish this boy up. Also, there's a certain point where I just stop looking at the reference and I just start kind of seeing what my eye is seeing instead of the reference. Because, especially with photos, like what might make a really good photograph doesn't necessarily translate to a drawing or painting. And so there are certain things you might want to add in that, like, don't need to be or are unnecessary or will take away from it. So at this point, I'm not looking at that reference anymore. I'm just trying to fill in what I want to say, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I might actually put a black line around here so that it fills in this side. We'll see how this goes. Thoughts and prayers for me, please.
I like it.
Okay, good. Whew. Richard, wake up. Yeah, I think that helped because it's dark over here and then there's a light, like a rim light over here. So, oh, yeah, there's a little bit of shadow up here as well. Were there any more questions?
No, not at this time. Doesn't look
All
like
right,
it.
sweet. Hopefully that just means it was so thorough and we covered everything.
Well, I'm going to be the salesperson now, and I think you should probably give people more info on what they can expect if they were to join your Patreon. I'm assuming that you do more videos like this and live
Oh, yeah.
videos. I know that you do coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. So on Patreon, like I really wanted it to be like an artist community. Because it is a really solitary thing we're doing, creating. And so we can oftentimes just like not talk to people for a really long time or get feedback from people or just share our work. Like it's very hard now to share our work like on Instagram and things because it's just not being seen. So with the Patreon, we have a really awesome group going. We have a chat going. The things that you can expect from me, I do mentor sessions. So what that is if you have a question about some pieces, if you have like, there's people in there that we talk about the business of art. There's people in there that are just starting out and need like tips and pointers on like where to even begin. People that mostly just need more of like a sense of community and like pep talks of like, hey, don't second guess yourself. That looks amazing. Like keep going kind of thing. Um, so there's the mentor sessions, and then I do a video every month of like a how to. This month's video is I did a watercolor, and so I showed the process of that. I'll show um like it just depends, like if I'm always open to suggestions too from our members. So if someone's like, oh, how do you find the placement, or how do you draw an eye, or different things like that. So it's kind of like a cornucopia of things. And
Yes.
mostly I really just wanted it to be a community, and the patrons that we have, the members are absolutely incredible. They're so supportive of one another, and they've even become friends like outside of Patreon, which is the best. Like it's the greatest.
Yes. And I think it's a very small investment for the value that you get out of it.
Thank you. It's literally $7 a month for a video
Yeah.
every month. Like I can't explain to you how much work it is, but like I love it. Like it's the most fulfilling thing for me to do, and just to make these friends and all that. And then even the mentor session, that's the highest price tier that I have, but it's $40 for, you get almost a full hour of
Yeah.
whatever you want to talk about. Like it could be anything. So, and then there's also the gift club, and that is $10. And every month I'm sending a new mini print or stickers. Like, here's some examples of stickers that I've made that have gone out to people. Here's another one. So every month it's something different. And it's just, and I write a personalized note, and it takes me forever, but I absolutely love it. That it's a really fun space, and I couldn't be happier with the people in there. And come join us. Like it's super fun, and you
Yeah.
can leave anytime, you can stay as long as you want, and maybe make some friends while you're at
It's
it.
kind of like a theme going on because I hear the same thing when people take your workshops. It's like everyone becomes family.
Yes, that's like, it sounds so cheesy, but that's legitimately all I care about, because like I don't know
Yes.
if it's because like being self-taught, I was just like so removed from everyone that I just want everybody to realize like we all have exactly the same feelings, we have exactly the same insecurities, exactly the same thoughts. The only difference is like perhaps you just need someone to tell you that you're doing a great job.
Yes.
And that's all it is like everyone in there is so supportive of one another, and they're such amazing artists that I just feel so fortunate to even know them. So join in.
Yes, definitely. I put the link in the chat for everybody, and then for the video that will be up on YouTube, I'll also put the link in there for everyone.
Oh, perfect. That's so cool. This was so much fun. Like I was so nervous, as you know, like right before
Yeah.
we made this live, I was like, I'm gonna throw up. But I think it
Well,
was really fun. And
yeah.
if you ever have any questions too, you can always email me or send me a message. Like Instagram, I don't really get messages a lot. Like I just don't understand it. But you can always email me if you have any questions or you need help with something. Like just let me know. I love connecting, and I love making the world smaller. Like it doesn't need to be as scary and inundating and spread out and like exclusive,
Yes.
which is a reason why I really do love Trikel as a brand. Like they're very inclusive. It's never been an exclusive thing. Everybody is family in Trikel.
Big time. You worded that way better than I could have.
I will accept a Venmo later. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm gonna flip this around to look at it from this angle. Okay,
Oh,
I think he looks all
so
right.
good.
All right, Richie, you did
I
it. You're
love
such a
it. I
model.
love it. I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna put actually, I'll show you really quick. Like, so I'm gonna take this Posca pen, and these bleed like crazy. So I'm just gonna like, oh, see, it just exploded. These things are nuts. I love Posca pens, but I think I just don't know how to use them. But, so I like to get that explosion out of the way, not on my paper first. I got it all over my computer though. And then what I'm gonna do is just pop some nice pretty highlights in his little baby eyes. And then maybe right here on the nose and on one whisker, maybe over here and here. Okay, let me just a couple more things. So if there's any like last minute questions, comments, thoughts, concerns?
Well, we have a comment from Michelle. She said, Kate's drawing is amazing and so adorable. Thank you so much for doing this informative webinar.
Oh my gosh, Michelle, thank you so much. Can I send you a hug?
See, we need some virtual hugs in this webinar for sure.
I agree. Like all I want to do is just have art friends. That's all I care about.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I think he's done.
Any last questions from anybody? All right, I think we got another one.
Okay.
Oh, Kelsey's on here. He said, just have to say I love you and your art. You and Courtney are the best. It's been so fun to watch your process. Richie is the cutest boy.
Oh my gosh. Everyone go follow Kelsey. She's the greatest. Go follow. I want to follow everybody. Like
I'll send you the list of all the participants.
Okay.
And you
Okay,
can follow
great.
everybody.
Okay.
Lucy gave you the emoji, the cat with the hard eyes.
Oh,
Yes, this has been great.
this was so much fun. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'm gonna maybe give a little drawing tour with the camera.
Yes.
So there we go. We got some juicy highlights, lots of squiggles, lots of triangles and fluff. And then I'll actually post a picture of him too. I might work on him just like for a few more.
A little
minutes.
bit more, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit, not too much. I'm pretty happy with it. I even put in his little tail.
It came out amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on this webinar. This was a really, really so fun.
It was fun. We haven't done one of these in a very long time. It was way overdue, so thank you for the suggestion. I think we have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Kelsey said thank you. Vicky said wonderful, and thank Richie for her.
Oh, I will. I'm going to flip the camera so I can chat with everybody. Do I have charcoal on me? First questions. Do I have charcoal all over me?
But yeah, so everybody loved it, and we will be sending out a link with the video once we have it uploaded on YouTube for people that do want to rewatch it. And yeah.
Thank you so much for coming and watching me push some pigment around. And I hope that you pick up some brushes. I do have my brush set with Trykel, and it's got everything that you would need in it. It's got that set of charcoal pencils. It's got 4 different brushes. It's, again, I'm not saying this because it's a Trykel webinar. I'm saying it because I really do believe in Trykel. Oh, yeah. Actually, really quick before you guys go, we need to see the man of the hour.
The star of the show. There he is.
It's Richard. He's so sleepy.
He's so upset you woke him up for this.
I know. He's like, why are you doing this to me? Okay. He's leaving. He's very busy.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kate. We appreciate your time. And we hope to do this again in the future.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.